Begin with PG 30323, Prince George's County, speed monitoring systems on Maryland Route 210. That, of course, is Indian Head Highway. This bill addresses penalties, increased penalties on Indian Head Highway. And very briefly, it would break down, rather than one flat fine for anyone going over 12 miles over the posted speed limit. This would actually break out and have increased fines for 12 to 21 miles an hour over, 22 to 31, 32 to 41, 42 to 51, and then finally someone going more than 52 miles over the posted speed limit. As you all know, speed on Indian Head Highway has been a huge problem for years. So with that, there are 10 witnesses signed up on this bill, and the first one listed is Ron Weiss.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, Delegate Valderrama, is this your bill?
It is. I'm not going to take any time. I just wanted to let the new members know that are new to the delegation. This issue of 210 is nothing new. It is an issue I and the others have been working on for years. For those who do use Indian Head Highway, Route 210, and who live in the district and immediately outside the district, especially our Charles County residents. As you all know, if you've seen from the news media, there have been way too many deaths. One is too many already. This already is in existence with fines being paid. The issue here is that the $40 fine is being implemented for all cases, even repeat offenders. I will leave it at that. I have a experienced panel, my constituents, our constituents, and experienced, I don't know if we have SHA with us, but I will leave it at that. And I appreciate your open-minded consideration, delegation. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Valderrama. And yes, this is a well-known problem, and I gather that's why there's 10 folks who want to talk about it. So, Mr. Weiss, are you still with us?
I am. Thank you. And thank you, Delegate Valderrama, for sponsoring this bill. And thank you for your years-long, long-term, courageous support of 210 traffic safety. I appreciate your representation of us. I'm Ron Weiss, founding member of the 210 Traffic Safety Committee, a founding member of the Prince George's County Police Division 7 Citizens Advisory Council, a founding member of the Maryland Coalition for Highway Safety, and president of the Indian Head Highway Area Action Council, among other things. 210's been my family main street for 50 years. We've been lucky not to have been injured or killed on it. In the last 16 years, almost 90 families have not been so lucky. They've lost a loved one on the so-called highway of death. My family and over 5,000 families represented by 11 civic associations in South Prince George's County hope you will save families from avoidable tragedy by passing PG 303-23. As John Kelly wrote in this morning's post, long ago when my father first handed me the keys to the family station wagon, he said, a car is deadlier than a gun. Driving is the most dangerous thing you can do. Driving is the most dangerous thing I do. It's probably the most dangerous thing that you do as well. Drivers like you and me make mistakes, and people are fragile. Thankfully, highway and vehicle engineers are doing everything they can to protect us from when we make mistakes, so we don't die or get seriously injured in a crash. PG 303-23 is not about mistakes that responsible drivers make. The bill is focused on intentional and repeated reckless drivers who put all 210 users at risk. Road safety depends on users following the rules of the road and to provide a predictable environment for all users. While most people drive responsibly on 210, its long sections of straight level roadway attract speeders and illegal racers. As a result, 210 continues to be one of the deadliest roads in Prince George's County and in the area. As I mentioned, almost 90 people have died on 210 since 2007. Just last year, 2022, there were 10 fatalities on 210. The minority of irresponsible drivers who have not been deterred by $40 fines. Over 600 vehicles have been clocked at over 90 miles an hour during the 7-month period, April to October 2022. One vehicle was recorded an incredible 168 miles an hour. These drivers inject chaos in our road environment and make our travel much riskier. Reckless drivers value their thrills over our basic rights to safety, peace, and tranquility. By providing for stiffer fines for reckless drivers, this bill will go a long way to deter their life-threatening and irresponsible behavior. I urge the delegation to support PG 303-23. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. And next I have Herbert Jones. Mr. Jones, are you here?
Yes, I am. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Herbert Jones, and I'm a founding member of the Italian Alliance for Greater County Transparency, lead volunteer with ARPDC, active participant on the Maryland 210 Traffic Safety Committee, and president of the Italian North Area Civic Association. I'm testifying today on behalf of the Italian North Area Civic Association. By way of background, the association represents over 600 homes, boundaries including Flame Lane, Sears Court on Fort Washington Road, Sears Estate Drive, intersecting streets on Autowood Lane, Fort Washington Road, etc. By now, as Ron has already said, everyone's aware of the dangers on 210, and I would just like to mimic his comments and associate myself with his comments, and also make it clear that the association is in support of Bill Bill PG 303-231. And I also wanted to add that the association also supports, and I know it was already passed, not passed, we've already got through that, MC-PG 107.23, standing for request review of zoning and land use decision. That is critical in terms of public involvement and transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, for keeping that brief. Next, I have Reverend Dr. Robert L. Screen. Reverend Screen, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. I'm Reverend Dr. Robert L. Screen. I'm a 45-year resident of the 210 traffic community, but also a 5-year leader of the 210 Traffic Safety Committee. This committee has been developed just for the strict purposes of dealing with the issues of traffic and fatalities of any hit highway. As already mentioned by Ron Weiss, we have lost in the last 15 years just under 90 people on this highway, most of that due to speeding. This works out to about 6 people per year. Now, this is on a span of road that's about 15 miles. We were back in 2018 and 2019, we were given 3 cameras as more or less a prototype to study or to see how much we could have effect of speeding on any hit highway. What we have found is that it has had an effect. Back in that time in 2019, when all 3 went on board, we were somewhere close to between 5,000 and 6,000 infractions in a 30-day period. Right now, in the last 7 months, we're down to about 3,000 people with infractions. But with that infractions, as has already been mentioned by Ron Weiss, in the last 7 months, we've had over 633 people to go over 90 miles per hour or better. Now, these people running over 90 miles per hour or better are paying a $40 fine, the same fine that a person going 67 miles per hour. So we're looking for this bill 103-23 to be something to give teeth into the effectiveness of the cameras, something akin to what if a cruiser police driver were to pull someone over, they would be able to give if someone going over 100 miles per hour something more befitting, something that would be a deterrent. And that's what we want for these cameras also to be akin to bring deterrence to our roadway. Right now, we're a community under siege, I would say, because of the many people who have lost their lives. As was already mentioned, in the year 2022, we have lost 10 people on the roadways of any hit highway in 1 year, in 1 year span. So many of those are due to speeding. So we need the help from you as a committee, the delegates, to pass this bill with an urgency, because the passing of this bill is actually saving lives. I thank you for your allowing this my time to speak, and for this bill to come to pass as a bill that needs to be passed very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reverend Screen. Next is Dolores Holmes.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
You
Go right ahead.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I'll be brief. I just want to echo and reinforce everything that my neighbors have said, Herb Jones, Ron Weiss, and also Dr. Screen. Is very important. I urge you to support PG 30323. I've been a longtime resident of Fort Washington for 30 plus years, so I have seen the change in 210. It's a dangerous highway now, and I can speak from personal experience. I had a close family member that was sitting at the stoplight on 210 and rear-ended by a vehicle going at an excessive rate of speed, almost died and had to be cut out of the vehicle. Every day that I go to visit my friends and family and just do errands in 210, I'm taking my life in my hands. As a registered nurse, even though I'm just a citizen of Fort Washington, I'm declaring that this is a public health emergency, because in your community, you should be able to drive around and cross the roads and byways in safety. So I urge you, please support this bill. $40 fine is just insignificant. In my personal opinion, the fine should be $500 for the first offense, and the second offense, just lose your license. So perhaps if you're walking down 210, watching the cars go by, maybe that will calm some of the people down if they would had to walk for a year, because that's what I had to do until my father determined I deserved a car. So thank you for your time this evening, and I strongly urge you to support PG 30323 and 30423.
Thank you so much, Ms. Holmes. Next is Sandra Hall. Ms. Hall, are you here?
Yes, good evening.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I also want to echo my neighbors' consents and concerns. I was also involved in an accident on 210 in 2019, and it was involving 4 vehicles. One of the vehicles, 4 vehicles, one of them hit me, took off. A vehicle hit that vehicle before it took off, and then another vehicle hit that vehicle. I encourage this bill to include additional cameras all along the 15-mile stretch of 210, strategically placed. And those fines, again, should be increased. I am with Dolores. 500 is reasonable. In addition to that, after a month, those tickets should double. Points should be added to those individuals who get these tickets. In addition to that, drivers ought to be mandated to take driver's ed again, unless and points should be added, as I mentioned, to those licenses. So I critically encourage and urge you to please place more cameras along 210. Starting from that Wilson Bridge all the way down to the Charles County line. Those other barriers and things that we have implemented on 210 as a deterrent. You don't see them in Charles County, but you see them here in Prince George's County. I think that's not right. However, they're trying to do Band-Aid patchwork for this situation, and we need more than just Band-Aids and patchworks. We need more cameras that will take pictures like DC, send those pictures to those drivers and hold them accountable. And if they don't pay them in a month, those tickets double. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Next, we have Edward Axelrad. Mr. Axelrad, are you with us? Edward Axelrad? Okay. Then we will move on to Andrew Holloway. Mr. Holloway?
Good evening again and Happy New Year. I support the bill, MC PC 303-23, as well as MC PC 304-23. Both talk about speeding on Indian Head Highway. The cameras that are there, the speed increments fines should be incrementally increased to accommodate the speeds. As stated by some of the speakers before me, this is a highway of death. We have to educate our personnel who drive and use this road. It's a privilege to drive. It is a privilege. It's not something you authorize to do. And we have to make sure we hold people accountable for their actions.
You signed up to
Driving a
speak
vehicle
tonight and
is
they
a
called your
dangerous.
name.
You are now driving a weapon. You are armed to do whatever you can to hurt other folks, or not can, but you can easily hurt other folks, and just
Well,
out of your
it's still in
negligence.
progress.
So we need to
I
get
don't
your
know if you
attention.
if you have a
The
chance
fines
to
that are now
to
attached
get
for the
on,
speeding
I'm
are
sure they'll let you
insignificant,
speak,
way
but,
below that,
it's up
and
to
do
you.
not encourage corrective actions. So I would encourage you to support
Okay.
these bills
All right.
wholeheartedly and
Yeah.
we increase the number of cameras that we do
Yeah,
have.
we got plenty of space.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
Thank you for anyway.
Thank you so much, Mr. Holloway. Next, we have Patricia Monroe. Miss Monroe, are you with us? Patricia Monroe?
Yes, I am. I'm
Go
with
right
you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Patricia Monroe, and I am representing South Lawn Citizens Association, which has approximately 693 residents plus. People always ask, do speed cameras really save lives? Well, I did some research, and the answer is yes. While they are revenue generators for many cities and states, speed cameras do save lives. But speed cameras alone don't go far enough. There are no real consequences. There are no points on the driver's license, increase in insurance rates, and however, it is a start for a solution to the problem. As many of my residents said, they spoke about the deaths, but no one has really talked about how many accidents there really are on 210 itself. The speed cameras in Prince George's County have some of the lowest fines in the DMV. Prime example, in Washington, D.C., in the District of Columbia, if you go 10 miles over, that's a $100 ticket. You hit 20 or more, it starts increasing as you go higher. I was on North George Mason Drive in Virginia. The speed limit is 30 miles per hour on that road. However, the fine for speeding on that road starts at $200. So you can imagine, most people do the speed limit on that road. I also look at the fact that Prince George's County Police Department does not have the manpower to do traffic enforcement. And so maybe one of the things that would help us is a memorandum of understanding with the state police to get some help. They ride down 210, see things going, and don't stop anybody. However, when they get to 228, which is at that point Charles County, they enforce the laws there. I think we pay taxes to the state of Maryland just like Charles County does, and we should be able to get the same representation for speeders on 210. Lastly, the cameras on 210 should remain, and we should really add a few more because people know where they are and they automatically will slow down, get past the camera, and then speed up again. I also support the fines being increased based on speed and for repeat offenders. I represent South Lawn Citizens Association, and we all support PG 30323.
Thank you, Ms. Monroe. We have two more witnesses. Judy Allen Leventhal is next. Miss Allen Leventhal, are you here? Judy Allen Leventhal. Okay, we're going to go to Tamara Davis Brown then.
Good evening. Thank you again. And I, along with several of the speakers before me, am also an original member of the Maryland 210 Traffic Safety Committee. And so I thank my fellow co-residents and committee members for all their hard work. I'm not going to repeat their testimony, but I want to try to disarm any naysayers, not only within the delegation, but as well when the bill hopefully moves forward in the full House, and that is that there's always some resistance and opening the floodgates, if you will. And we know that there have been other similar bills here in Prince George's County. But what's unique about 210 is the fact that it is considered the highway of death. It has the most fatalities. It has the most accidents, not only in the state of Maryland, but on the Eastern Corridor. What needs to be understood is that 210 also is one of the few highways that I'm aware of that actually has on the eastern side of it all residential area, and then on the western side of it commercial. And so we have a high fatality of pedestrian and auto accidents, or bicycle and auto accidents. Because of that, people are trying to traverse 210 to get from their residential area over to the commercial. And that's why it was so important, and why we marked having an overpass, the opening of an overpass there. That's very unique. The other thing that's unique, and Ms. Monroe hit on this, as taxpayers, not only in the county, but in the state of Maryland, Prince George's County is one of the few counties that I know of, and I think it may be the only county that has a memorandum of understanding with the Maryland State Troopers that they're not going to patrol our roads. So they leave the Forestville barracks, drive around the Beltway, drive up 210 through Prince George's County, never patrolling our area or stopping drivers or aggressive drivers, and head to 228 in Charles County and start and begin their patrol there. That's absolutely ridiculous. So if there's some naysayers about this bill, we either need to try to help change the driver behavior by increasing the fines, and or this delegation can look to getting rid of that 2000 MOU between Prince George's County and the Maryland State Troopers, Maryland State Highway. We got a little bit of pushback from former Chief of Police Stawinski, but we feel that we're making some progress with current Chief Aziz. We asked a delegation, both not only in Prince George's County, but we have a few delegates here that also represent Charles County, to look into this matter, that we can get patrol on our areas to help change driver behavior. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Davis Brown. And Mr. Chairman, Ms. Davis Brown is the last witness on PG 30323. If I could just ask her really quickly, though, did I see that you indicated you also would like to testify on PG 30423, which also addresses speed monitoring on Indian Head Highway?
That's correct.
Okay, I will call you then for that as well. Okay, so that concludes the public hearing on PG 30323. Next is PG 30423. That is another speed monitoring bill on Maryland Route 210, Indian Head Highway. And that bill briefly would increase, to one of our witnesses' points, increase the maximum number of speed monitoring cameras that may be placed along Route 210. In Prince George's County, it would repeal a requirement that State Highway, in conjunction with Prince George's County's Department of Public Works and Transportation, perform a study of 210 and report its findings to the governor and the General Assembly. It would also repeal a provision of the law that terminates the authority to place additional speed monitoring systems on Route 210 in Prince George's County. That allowance was due to expire at the end of 2023. So this bill would get rid of that expiration date. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I am going to call the first witness on PG 30423, which again is Dolores Holmes. Ms. Holmes.
Yes, good evening again. I'm just going to echo what I said earlier. Please support PG 30423. Speed cameras work, and definitely we need more down 210 because of the aggressive driving. The drivers know where they are, even though they're being moved. When they're moved, they slow down wherever they are. And in communities where they have more speed cameras, fatalities drop. And definitely, we don't need any more studies. The best study that we have to prove that speed cameras are working or that 210 is dangerous is all the family members that have lost loved ones on 210. So there's the study right there. So please support PG 30423 to increase the number of speed cameras. There should be one like every half mile. That's my personal suggestion. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. Next is Ron Weiss.
Good evening again. I'm Ron Weiss. I'm speaking in support of PG 30423. I'm incorporating my previous testimony in support of 303-23 to save time. Based on the evidence collected by the Prince George's County Police Department's Automated Enforcement Division, the current 210 speed cameras are efficient, impartial, and cost-effective tools that reduce speeding. However, the same evidence also shows that expanding the program to allow 10 cameras is critical to maximize the deterrent effect over the 26 miles, if you count both directions of 210, that both sides have to be enforced, of north and south traffic on 210, south of the Beltway. Our current 3 cameras provide very sparse enforcement for nearly 80,000 vehicles a day. We need 10 10 cameras. There's no doubt in my mind. Thank you again, Delegate Valderrama, for sponsoring this bill and for your long-term courageous support of 210 traffic safety. I urge the delegation to support this bill. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you again, Mr. Weiss. Next is the Reverend Dr. Robert L. Screen. Mr. Screen, Reverend Screen, are you with us still?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I thank you again for allowing me this opportunity again to speak to this matter. Again, I would just reflect on some of the things that Ron Weiss has just brought to us, to our attention. Yes, indeed, we need more speed cameras. I am certainly vigorously supporting PG 304-23. We need the extra speed cameras because we find that the 3 that we have are just not enough to cover the 13 miles one way between Charles County line and the Beltway. We've lost actually the working use of 2 cameras when we had the overpass to be built, and what was being, and then the state highway was putting their own cameras in that vicinity to govern that area. But with the loss of the working of the construction there, they took the cameras with them. So we've lost there in that particular area. But then, because we know that the other expanse of the other span of roadway, we also need additional cameras. As was quoted earlier before, Ron Weiss had spoken about that the high speed that we have on one of the particular cameras is 168 miles per hour. Now, this is a particular camera that has a long straightaway and is about a mile or 2 mile difference between the intersections. Now, on that same camera, that location back here in April, May, and June, there was someone that did 161 miles in the month of April, 168 miles in May, and 162 miles in the month of June. On the other side of the road was no camera. Do you not think that they're going that kind of speed on both sides of the roadway? We need the coverage on both sides of the roadway to be able to catch these egregious speeders and to be able to slow them down and put the deterrent into their mindset, just like in the other areas of the 13 miles. So I'm vigorously supporting this bill. We need to have it in order to, this is the most important thing I think any leader of people can do, and that is to save lives, to bring a quality of life to the community that we're all seeking, and I believe all our taxpayers deserves. So once again, I vigorously support this bill and pray that you will too.
Thank you so much, Reverend Screen. And just to comment quickly, there are up to 3 cameras allowed now. It sounds like there are 3 cameras. This bill would amend existing law to say there can be up to 10 cameras on Maryland Route 210, the Indian Head Highway in Prince George's. And so next is Sandra Hall.
Yes, again, I echo what I said earlier, as well as my colleagues that are on the line. Thank you, Delegate Lehman and Delegate Valderrama, for implementing this bill. I think with new technology, perhaps some of the new cameras can be more, may have more precision in catching those drivers and on those speed, on their driver's license, or the license plates, so that we can definitely hone in and get those drivers and get them off the road. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Hall. And finally, the last witness on this bill will be Tamara Davis Brown. Ms. Davis Brown, go ahead.
Thank you again, Committee Chairman Lehman, Delegate Lehman again. And I too want to thank Delegate Valderrama for her steadfastness in working with us in getting the original legislation proposed. I know it's been a fight for her, and I hope that the rest of the Prince George's County delegation will join her in helping to move this bill forward. We definitely do not want the provision to sunset. We think the cameras are working, but of course, with the low fees, as we spoke on the previous bill, we think they can be more effective if the fines were tailored to the speed limits. The reason that we think we need more cameras, and I think our fellow chairperson and leader, Reverend Dr. Screen, spoke so eloquently on it, that there are areas where it's just straight away. And if you may remember, there was an accident that very major, because they were actually racing, and so over 7 people at that time, 7 people were killed because people were actually out watching the race, and then because the cars went out of control, they hit the spectators that were there to hear the race. So there are plenty straightaway areas, especially coming towards the Charles County line, that need coverage as well. And again, I was going to save the testimony about the MOU with the state troopers, Maryland State Highway, for this portion of my testimony, but I did mention it in the previous, but just want to reiterate here that, if we think that cameras are so bad, we want to disarm trying to use it and discourage trying to use it. I'm all for it if you're going to have our police troopers that we pay taxes for to patrol our area. But that has not been the case, and it hasn't been the case since 2000, when the MOU was signed, over 22 years now, going on 23 years ago. And in the meantime, we cannot put, the fines are fines. We can't put a price on someone's life, but we can certainly try to deter and change driver behavior with the increased fines and more cameras. And again, the uniqueness that I talked about in my previous testimony equally applies here. So I wholeheartedly support PG 30423 and ask for your support and vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Davis-Brown. You certainly have a great champion in Delegate Valderrama. With that, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Davis-Brown is the last witness on PG 30423, so that closes, ends the hearing on that.